Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. 82 people killed after a massive explosion inside a building in Jhabua in Madhya Pradesh. State orders probe after the police confirms explosives behind the tragedy. After a series of meetings, the NDA to announce seat-sharing pact for Bihar. Sources say all issues have been ironed out. DG-level border talks between India and Pakistan conclude. Both sides sign agreement to enhance communication for peace at the borders. 2 Indians among the 107 killed in the crane accident at Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia orders an inquiry into the disaster. And Leander Paes and Martina Hingis script history at the US Open mixed doubles, become the first pair since 1969 to win 3 Grand Slam titles in the same year. Well, top story this evening is, of course, the Bihar elections, and after days of meetings and deliberations, the NDA finally seems to have reached a seat-sharing agreement for the polls there. The allies had given the BJP the responsibility in the power to decide the final permutation, and the party seems to have done that. BJP President Amit Shah met LJP Chief Ram Vilas Paswan late last night and is believed to have convinced him that parties should contest seats where they have a strong base. Shah also held final seat-sharing talks with 2 other allies, Hindustan Awam Morcha's Jitan Ram Manjhi and RLSP's Upendra Kushwaha. Shah also met her top leaders, BJP leaders today. So, there had been much acrimony going on in the NDA camp as far as seat sharing is concerned. Jitan Ram Manjhi and Ram Vilas Paswan had engaged in almost an all-out war, with Jitan Ram Manjhi insisting that he be treated equally. But it seems those issues have been ironed out for now. Let's go across to our correspondent Sham Sundar, who's been tracking this story for us. He's live with us from the BJP headquarters. And Sham, the announcement for the seat sharing finally could happen today.
Yeah, right now, Mr. Jitan Ram Manjhi, former Chief Minister of Bihar and leader of Hindustani Awam Morcha, he is at Amit Shah's residence, and final discussions are on with Jitan Ram Manjhi. But according to sources, with other 2 important allies like Ram Vilas Paswan and Upendra Kushwaha, deal is final. And at 6:30, with the NDA allies, BJP leaders will announce that seat sharing in their Ashok Road office of BJP.
All right, but as far as differences go, have those all been ironed out? Do we see a united front coming in as far as the NDA is concerned? Because we've seen on the other side the RJD, the JD and the Congress going it together, but Samajwadi Party walking out of that alliance. So as far as things from here on go, and as far as the number of seats being given to each party, how do things stand?
Well, as far as NDA is concerned, BJP is unchallenged leader of this alliance, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be campaigning for NDA. And when after this seat sharing announcement, of course, parties have to distribute tickets and select candidates, and that will be a very important process, because apart from star campaigners, candidates also matter, and other equations also matter in the elections. And as we are saying that for BJP, these smaller parties like Lok Jan Shakti Party, Rashtriya Lok Samta Party, and Jitan Ram Manjhi's Hindustani Awam Morcha, these are very important as far as social equations in Bihar are concerned. So NDA would try that in the leadership of Narendra Modi, there is a comprehensive and united campaign from this side. And if you talk about other side, Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav and Nitish Kumar, they seem quite united, and they are there is no differences there. And especially the way Lalu Prasad Yadav is backing Mr. Nitish Kumar, it is definitely a very good indication for that alliance. But of course, election is also about perception, and the way Mr. Mulayam Singh Yadav has left that alliance, perception is going, and of course BJP will get a chance to attack this alliance, the grand alliance of Lalu Prasad Yadav, Nitish Kumar and Congress. So as far as perception is concerned, of course, there is a setback for grand alliance in Bihar after Samajwadi Party decided not to be part of that alliance.
All right, Sham, we'll leave it over there. Sham, of course, tracking those developments at the BJP headquarters as they happen. Jiten Ram Manji meeting BJP President Amit Shah. That's the news as of now. We'll, of course, get you continued coverage of the Bihar Assembly elections every day in our special segment, Verdict 2015. Moving on now. The Parliament have been prorogued almost for a month after being adjourned sine die. The move ends the possibility of an extension of the monsoon session in the face of a continued standoff between the government and the opposition over the GST bill. The government had refused to recommend proroguing of the two houses so far to keep open the option of reconvening in the monsoon session to allow passage of the crucial bill. However, after failing to bring the Congress on board, the decision was taken. The monsoon session that started on the 21st of July and ended on 13th August was a near washout, with an unrelenting opposition stalling a number of legislations, including the GST bill. Now, in an early morning tragedy today, at least 82 people were killed and more than 50 injured in a high-intensity blast in the Jhabua district of Madhya Pradesh. The explosion took place inside a packed restaurant in the Petlalwar town of Jhabua, where hundreds of people were having breakfast there. The exact cause of the blast is yet to be ascertained, but initial reports suggest it was triggered by explosives kept in an adjacent building.
Horrific images of an early morning explosion that ripped through a packed restaurant in Petlalwar town of Madhya Pradesh. The impact of the high-intensity blast was such that two adjacent buildings were reduced to rubble within seconds. Dozens of people, both inside and outside the compound, were blown to pieces.
मैं सर सुबह यहाँ चाय पी रहा था कृष्णा होटल पे और इतना भयंकर आवाज़ आई और पत्थर आए यहाँ तक आधा किलोमीटर पे वहाँ गाड़ी के नीचे एकदम दबे और सबसे पहले मैं वहाँ दौड़ के गया जिधर साइड से तो कम से कम 100 लाख 150 लाख से ऐसी तपड़ रही थी.
Earlier, the explosion was believed to have been caused by a cooking gas cylinder. But later, the police confirmed that explosives, mainly gelatin sticks used for mining, kept in an adjacent building, triggered the high-intensity blast. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over the tragedy. In a tweet message, he said, "I'm extremely pained at the loss of lives due to the cylinder blast in Jhabua. My deepest condolences to the families of the deceased. Wish all those injured a speedy recovery." The Madhya Pradesh government is monitoring the situation closely. Home Minister Rajnath Singh also expressed condolences.
मैं सभी पीड़ित परिवारों के प्रति अपनी संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं. दुर्घटना बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण रही.
State Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan announced compensation for the next of kin of the deceased.
घटना दुखद है जिसने मुझे अंदर तक हिलाया है. उस घटना के कारणों की जांच भी की जाएगी, लेकिन अभी उस दुर्घटना में जिन लोगों ने अपनी जान गंवाई है उनके परिजनों को 2-2 लाख रुपए की सहायता राशि दी जाएगी.
An NDRF team has been dispatched for relief operations. The state government has also ordered a high-level inquiry into the incident. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And in a train mishap early this morning, at least 2 people were killed while 8 others suffered injuries after 9 coaches of the Duronto Express derailed in Karnataka. The incident happened at around 2:30 this morning at the Martur railway station in Gulbarga district near the Maharashtra-Karnataka border. The injured were immediately rushed to hospital. After overnight rescue work, the train left for its onward journey. Railway Minister Suresh Prabhu has ordered an investigation to ascertain the cause of the accident. Railways has announced a compensation of 2 lakh rupees for the families of those killed, 50,000 rupees for those grievously injured, and 25,000 rupees for those with minor injuries. Meanwhile, South Central Railway has had to cancel several trains following the derailment.
We have moved the injured persons in the Gulbarga hospital. Our relief and rescue operation was moved right in time in a big way. Our medical relief trains reached both from Wadi and Sholapur at the accident site.
India and Pakistan have agreed to increase communication between armies of the two sides to ensure peace at the border. On the concluding day of the DG-level border talks, an agreement was reached to stop firing at posts at the international border. The next DG-level talks will be held early next year.
On the concluding day of DG-level border talks between India and Pakistan in Delhi, the two sides inked new confidence-building measures and signed a joint record of discussions that were held. An agreement has been made to jointly resolve sensitive issues like ceasefire violations and cross-border infiltration. The two sides have agreed on timely exchange of information to ensure tranquility at the border. There has been an agreement to stop firing at posts at the international border and not hamper renovation work at posts that already exist. Agreement has also been reached to not initiate retaliatory fire unless all possible means of communication have been exhausted.
दो तरह के सीज फायर वायलेशन है, एक अक्रॉस इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर विच इज लुक्ड आउट बाय बीएसएफ, कई बार जो होते हैं वो इंटरनेशनल बॉर्डर पे होते हैं.
These crucial talks that came in the wake of the cancellation of NSA-level dialogue was held in a cordial and smooth manner, and all issues concerning the two sides along the Indo-Pak border were taken up and addressed. The next DG-level meet will take place in the first half of 2016 in Islamabad. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Army veterans held a rally in Delhi to press for their demands after they rejected the government's proposal in the one rank, one pension scheme. They put forth a 7-point dissent and have said that the government should implement these demands if they're serious about honouring soldiers.
Sainik Ekta rally organised in Delhi by army veterans demanding honest and truthful justice. The veterans have rejected the OROP scheme announced by the government, though they welcomed its decision to make the much-awaited announcement.
अभी सरकार ने दिया, लेकिन उसको इतना लंगड़ा बना दिया कि वो मंजूरी नहीं हो. 7 सीरियस विसंगतियां हैं. ये एक ऐसी स्टोरी बना देनी कि सरकार अगर दे देगी तो दूसरे मानेंगे, फलानी दे देगी दूसरे मानेंगे. भाई, देश के सैनिक किसी और वर्ग के साथ उनका कोई कंपैरिजन नहीं है.
There were, however, cracks in the united front of ex-servicemen movement that has been the umbrella organisation under which various ex-servicemen groups have been protesting for the last 3 months. Some of the factions dissociated themselves from the rally that began at 10:30 a.m. today.
I think after 42 years, first time, the basic concept of OROP has been executed. लेकिन वो बोलते हैं कि नकली OROP है. ब्रेक का और भी रहेगा ना, आपका भी डिमांड है.
Veterans have put forward 7 points of dissent with the government. The veterans demand that those who take premature retirement should fall within the scheme. 2013 should be used to fix the base. A 5-member commission must come out with a report on implementation of OROP within 1 month. Pension revision must happen every year, and the scheme should be independent of the Central Pay Commission.
अगर नई सरकार देती 30 सितंबर तक हमने टाइम दिए, नहीं होगा हम जाके बिहार में रैली करेंगे. जहां-जहां इलेक्शन होगा रैली करेंगे.
जो भी सरकार हो उसके विरोध में जो हमसे झूठ बोलता है, वायदा करके मुकरता है, उसके विरोध में आंदोलन जारी रहेगा.
Opposition Congress that had questioned the timing of the announcement now says that the renewed protest is a failure of the government.
Today they have created a situation whereby the war veterans are today again on war path. It is a miserable failure of this government.
The current impasse now means that the wait that seemed to have ended after a 42-year wait is far from over. With inputs from Mohammad Fateh Tipu, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for us to take a very quick break. There's lots more coming up on the other side. In fact, Haryana has become the 5th BJP-ruled state to ban the sale of meat during an upcoming Jain festival. Details on the other side.
Today we bring to you the Bureau of Indian Standards Bill 2015.
These amendments were very much required, and they are long overdue.
My biggest problem with this bill is that it seeks to place several activities into a single place.
Watch Law of the Land Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. And now Haryana has become the 5th BJP-ruled state in the country to enforce a ban on meat. This along with Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. The Municipal Council of Fatehabad District, Haryana, slaughterhouses to remain shut between the 11th of September to the 19th of September in view of the Jain festival of fasting, Paryushan. Similar orders have been ordered in other districts as well. Now, the ban has widespread criticism across states, with activists and opposition parties alleging that the government has no right to tell people what to eat. However, as criticism mounted, the centre's Urban Local Bodies Department were quick to clarify that the order was of an advisory nature and was not binding. Let's now take a look at other national news stories nationwide. The BJP-affiliated ABVP has come in for the second consecutive year, beating NSUI to win all 4 seats in the Student Union elections of Delhi University. The Congress-backed NSUI stood second on 3 posts, including that of President, Joint Secretary and Secretary, while Aam Aadmi Party student wing came second for the post of Vice President. The 10th World Hindi Conference in Bhopal concludes today. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Raman Singh are expected to attend the concluding session. During the 3-day conference, the Ministry of External Affairs said that the emphasis should be given on making Hindi a global language. The 10th World Hindi Conference took place in India after a gap of 32 years. The Union Health Ministry today ordered an inquiry into the tragic case in which the parents of a 7-year-old boy committed suicide following the death of their child due to suspected dengue. The parents were allegedly denied admission by 2 prominent private hospitals in Delhi. The police have initiated an inquest proceeding in the case. Some international news now, and at least 107 people, including 2 Indians, were killed in a crane accident in Mecca in Saudi Arabia on Friday. The accident took place less than 2 weeks before Islam's annual Hajj pilgrimage, raising questions yet again of the safety standards of the 2.5 million pilgrims expected to attend the pilgrimage.
2 Indians were among the 107 people killed after a massive construction crane crashed into Mecca's Grand Mosque on Friday night. The Ministry of External Affairs confirmed that the 2 deceased belong to Kerala. 15 Indians have also been injured in the tragedy. The Indian consulate in Jeddah is monitoring the situation and helplines have been set up to provide assistance and information.
In this accident, 15 Indian pilgrims have been injured and 2 have unfortunately lost their lives. These 2 Indian pilgrims were from the state of Kerala. Our Consul General and other senior officers from the Indian consulate in Jeddah are in continuous touch with those injured.
Statement from the Mecca administration said a huge red crane smashed into a part of the Grand Mosque, sending down tons of cement and debris onto people either praying or walking through. At least 238 people are reported to be injured in the accident. Saudi authorities have ordered a probe.
أن أنقل تعازي سيدي خادم الحرمين الشريفين وسمو ولي العهد وجميع المسؤولين في هذه الدولة لأسر.
While Saudi officials claim strong winds and heavy rains caused the crane to fall, Hajj, one of the largest religious gatherings in the world, has been prone to disasters in the past, mainly from stampedes. 340 people were killed and 290 injured in a stampede in 2006 as safety standards and measures to control the crowd proved to be inadequate. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
As the migrant crisis in Europe worsens, Hungary has decided to impose tough laws to prevent more refugees from entering its borders. The new laws will come into force from the 15th of September. The measures come even as Hungary is being criticized for the way it handled the crisis so far.
The European Union plan to impose refugee quotas has been rejected by at least 4 countries. Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia and Poland have refused to support the proposal. Hungary threatens to crack down on the refugees as thousands cross into its borders daily. As it refuses the plan, Hungary is already facing criticism over its handling of the refugees. The government has been accused of gross mismanagement and negligence in housing, feeding and processing the migrants.
We came from Hungary and it was much more like Syria. The situation is so bad. The whole world need to do something to this Hungarian government. They put us in jails. We were for a week there. So little food, like one of this little bread in the morning and one at the night. The situation is so bad. The kids, all the kids, if you can see them here, they all have cold. They put us in jails. They treat us like criminals, maybe like animals, I don't know. It's more likely like animals.
Ja, die Leidtragenden sind die Kinder natürlich, die mit Verkühlungen zu kämpfen haben, beziehungsweise Erwachsene halt, wo halt das Gehwerk, die Füße halt sehr in Mitleidenschaft gezogen sind. Schlechtes Schuhwerk, Nässe, doch die Nächte etwas frisch schon.
Unfazed by all the criticism, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban has threatened an even harder line. He says his government intends to catch, convict and imprison people who continue to penetrate its new border barriers as part of Get Tough border security measures scheduled to begin Tuesday.
Hát 15-ével az a helyzet áll elő, hogy a magyar hatóságok nem lehetnek elnézőek az illegális határátlépéssel szembe. Ugye egy hete zajlik egy fölvilágosító és tájékoztató kampány egész Szerbia területén, ahol tájékoztatjuk az illegális határátlépési szándékkal közeledőket, hogy ezt ne tegyék, mert az eddigi szabályok megváltoztak Magyarországon.
Meanwhile, as Hungary plans to get tough on refugees, huge crowds are rushing out of the country. Crowds gathered at the Keleti railway station in Budapest, waiting to make the next leg of their journey. These scores of refugees and migrants are now moving on to Austria and Germany. Germany is taking in the most numbers with 450,000 migrants seeking asylum. The country expects another 800,000 this year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time now for some more international news and global buzz. Singapore's ruling party romped to a strong election victory on Friday and increased its share of the vote and seat tally as it brushed off an opposition challenge in the city-state's most hotly contested polls. The People's Action Party won 83 out of the 89 seats in the expanded parliament. A rally was held celebrating the party's win in the group representation constituency, for which Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong was contesting. Turkey has lifted a week-long curfew imposed on the predominantly Kurdish southeastern city of Cizre. The city was sealed off last Friday after Turkish army launched an operation against Kurdish militants there. The locals have complained of shortages of water and electricity amid the operation against the PKK. Civilian casualties have also been reported. At least 15 militants have been killed by a US drone strike in Afghanistan's Gomal district on Wednesday. The attack was part of an intensifying drone campaign against Pakistani militants in Afghanistan. The 15 militants belong to the Pakistani Taliban faction, which claimed responsibility for the massacre of more than 130 pupils at an army-run school in the northwestern city of Peshawar last December. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe arrived in the city of Joso today to assess the damage caused by one of the worst floods to hit Japan that killed at least 3 people. Abe surveyed the river Kinu, which burst its banks on Thursday, sweeping houses of their foundations. Search teams using boats and helicopters resumed looking for the missing and stranded, while thousands waited to return to their homes as the waters slowly receded. Time for us to take a quick break right now. Coming up on the other side, all the sports news. The BCCI moves the Supreme Court to seek a clarity on N. Srinivasan's role. Details on that after the break.
आजादी के बाद कैसे बदला परिवेश, कैसे बनी संसद, कैसे उठा देश.
When the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
कौन थे वो लोग जो दे गए हमको शानदार विरासत, लोकतंत्र की मजबूत इमारत. राज्यसभा टेलीविजन.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Some sports news now. And Leander Paes and Martina Hingis have created history by winning the US Open mixed doubles title, becoming the first pair since 1969 to Grand Slam mixed doubles titles in the same year. The women's singles, it will be an all-Italian final after Roberta Vinci ended Serena Williams' hopes of securing a calendar slam. And in the men's draw, it will be the battle of the two top seeds in the final.
Leander Paes won a historic 17th Grand Slam title, winning the US Open mixed doubles title with Swiss partner Martina Hingis.
6-4, 3-6, 10-7.
The fourth-seeded pair edged past unseeded Americans Bethany Mattek-Sands and Sam Querrey 6-4, 3-6, 10-7 in a tricky final to win their third Grand Slam together this year.
My partner is just not only a legend of the game on the court, as you all know, but I know her off the court as one of my best friends, and I couldn't have done this without Martina. And to do it with one of your best friends just makes it really, really special. So.
With 9 Grand Slam mixed doubles titles, the 42-year-old now has the highest number of mixed doubles titles in the Open era, surpassing compatriot Mahesh Bhupati's record of 8.
To see the two of them partner up and be so successful this year. 3/4 of the majors.
In the women's singles, Italian Roberta Vinci caused one of the biggest upsets in the recent years, beating world number 1 Serena Williams in the semi-final. The 43 seed came from a set down to win 2-6, 6-4, 6-4 and end Serena's hope of a calendar slam.
Amazing moment, yes, it's incredible. It's so many things in my mind. This was an incredible match.
Roberta Vinci will play compatriot Flavia Pennetta in an all-Italian final on Saturday after the 26th seed outplayed Romanian second seed Simona Halep in the first semi-final. This will be the first Grand Slam final between two Italian players since the Open era began in 1968.
The US Open Championship match, defeating the number 2 player in the world.
The men's final, on the other hand, will feature the top 2 seeds battling it out for the title. Both Novak Djokovic and Roger Federer cruised into the finals with commanding wins. 17 times champion Federer continued his sublime form to defeat countryman Stan Wawrinka 6-4, 6-3, 6-1.
Really tough to beat, plus it's tough mentally. He doesn't give you anything, and I like that challenge, and I'll be ready for it.
World number 1 Novak Djokovic demolished defending champion Marin Cilic 6-0, 6-1, 6-2 to reach his 4th Grand Slam final this year.
1 and 2.
The men's final on Sunday will be a repeat of the Wimbledon final earlier this year, where the Serb triumphed over Federer in 4 sets. But it will be a tough battle this time, as the Swiss is yet to lose a set in the tournament. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time now for all the other sporting action in Sports Beat. The BCCI moved the Supreme Court to seek clarity over N. Srinivasan's role in the board. The board asked the apex court if its former president could attend its meetings. According to reports, BCCI is ready to drag the ICC chairman to court over the conflict of interest issue vis-a-vis the shareholding pattern in the Chennai Super Kings. It also claimed that after seeking legal advice, the BCCI has already drafted a petition to prove that the incumbent ICC chairman, Srinivasan, still has a conflict of interest. India ended the Commonwealth Youth Games campaign at the 5th spot with the overall tally of 19 medals behind Australia, South Africa, England and Malaysia. England won 2 out of the 4 golds on offer on the concluding day of the 5th Commonwealth Youth Games. Indian women grappler Geeta Fogart lost 0-10 to Turkish wrestler Elif in the repechage round of the 58-kilogram category at the World Wrestling Championships. Fogart got a chance to compete for the bronze medal in the repechage round after Iko reached the final, but Elif eventually finished with the bronze medal. Well, that's all from us. Goodbye.